This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 239-inch.
On this episode, we interview Sulu, one of the legendary sidekicks from the Dr. Demento Show.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird
It's
Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Hello, Ethan, and happy... Whoa, is it August already?
Well, yes, but it was already August last episode too, you know.
Wow, how is that even possible?
Dave, are you recovered from San Diego Comic-Con yet?
Not quite.
Maybe you need a Coke Zero?
I always need a Coke Zero. You know, San Diego Comic-Con was so much fun, but it was definitely sensory overload.
Oh, I totally get it, Dave. I've still been putting my badge on every morning by mistake.
I am so glad that we went, and it was such an amazing experience. But if I do not have to say the word con, as in Comic-Con, this entire episode, I will be fine with that.
Oh, I can totally relate, Dave. All right, now it's time for what's happening in Weird Al related news.
This past weekend, Weird Al was a guest of honor at Steel City Con. Oh, really? In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Instagram has been abuzz with pictures with Weird Al, including a woman who got Weird Al's autograph tattooed on her ankle, and a couple who got engaged in front of Weird Al during their photo.
Weird Al shared a photo of him with some of the fellow special guests, seemingly out for dinner or drinks after the convention.
In his post, he's pictured with Jennifer Grey, Dennis Rodman, Jared Padalecki, and Thomas Lennon.
And speaking of Thomas Lennon, a photo of him with Weird Al while dressed in full Lieutenant Dangle uniform made the rounds on social media from the con.
And Mark Summers posted a photo with Weird Al, reuniting them for the first time since they recorded Family Double Dare back in the 90s.
If you're feeling con FOMO, don't fret. Weird Al will be appearing at GalaxyCon San Jose this weekend.
Weird Al is set to hit the screen in a new indie comedy from writer-director Lestrin Pantera.
The film currently in production is about a one-hit wonder rock star at a small-town science fair.
In addition to Weird Al, the film also features Jackie Tone, David Wayne, Tia Carrere, the Sklar Brothers, and more. The single Yo Me Estreso from teenage punk superstars the Linda Lindas dropped on Tuesday from their upcoming album No Obligation, and it features none other than Weird Al.
Not only does Weird Al play accordion on the track, he is heavily featured in their music video, which also dropped on Tuesday.
While No Obligation isn't due until October 11th of this year, pre-sales are currently live for both digital and physical versions of the album.
And attention collectors, there are 6 exclusive vinyl variations of the new album, plus a CD. Look out, Beat on the Brat. These girls are coming after your title.
Not only does their song Yo Me Estreso with Weird Al totally rock, the Linda Lindas are some seriously pretty stinking majestic ladies with a ton of great music that you should absolutely check out.
For those who ordered one of the UHF 35th Anniversary Edition bundles from the Shout Factory website, check your mailboxes because orders have started shipping again.
While most items are included, the Spatula City magnets are not part of the latest shipment.
Shout Factory reports that their shipment was damaged in transit and the spatula magnets will need to be remade.
But luckily, they estimate that the delay will only be 6 weeks or less.
While we are sad we didn't receive our Spatula City magnets, we understand that these things happen, and we appreciate Shout Factory for being open and honest about it, and most of all, communicating with their customers in a timely manner.
This episode is brought to you in part by vegan burrito restaurant Burrito Burrito, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito Burrito and Burrito Burrito, your Burrito Burrito, and Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Albany to Uranus, Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hunger with out-of-this-world plant-based real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquare.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
Our close personal friend Johnny O'Hearn let us know that Weird Al appears as an Easter egg in a new website that features an alternate reality game centered around the lore of the series Gravity Falls.
To see the Easter egg featuring Weird Al, head over to thisisnotawebsite.com, and that's DOTCOM.com, and type weird into the computer.
If you play around with it and find any more Weird Al related Easter eggs, be sure to let us know.
Our close personal friend Mike Minnick let us know that Weird Al appears in the 10-year anniversary shoutouts video posted by the Cybertronic Spree for their 10th anniversary.
Hot Rod and RC of the Cybertronic Spree, of course, appeared on episode 80-inch of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast and beautifully covered Dare to Be Stupid from the Transformers movie soundtrack.
According to the video description on YouTube, this shoutout video featuring Weird Al originally screened at the release party for the Cybertronic Spree's new album, Ravage.
Ravage is available now for Autobots, Decepticons, and Earthlings alike.
And now it's time for What's Happening in John Bermuda Schwartz, What a Guy Related News!
This Sunday, August 18th, is Weird Al photographer, archivist, and I suppose also drummer, John Bermuda Schwartz's fabulous birthday.
Ever since September 14th, 1980, Bermuda has been an incredibly important part of Weird Al's band and career.
You know, Ethan, I think I've known Bermuda about as long as you've been alive.
Well, you're welcome to you and to Bermuda for my part in that.
Since day one, Bermuda has been an integral part of our podcast, and aside from Ethan and I, he has spent more time on our podcast than anyone else.
We wholeheartedly thank Bermuda for the years of friendship, knowledge, and bad jokes.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, happy birthday, Bermuda.
And now it's time for What's Happening in Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast related news.
After 2 reschedules, the Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast fan reading of the UHF script is now happening on American Labor Day, Monday, September 2nd at 8 p.m. Burrito time.
If you want to participate and you aren't already in touch with William King, please reach out to him directly in our Facebook group or Discord, or you can email frank@2000inch.com and intern Frank will put you in touch with William.
Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System?
Not yet, Dave. It's not September 2nd yet. We go way back into Weird Al's career for our guest this episode, and we can't wait for you to hear it. So take it away, Dave.
We are excited. Our next guest was part of the legendary group of sidekicks on the Dr. Demento Show. Not only did she answer phone, take requests, tabulate requests, she also contributed many of her own Demented songs, including top 10 hits like I Love Your Toes and Chocolate Toenails. She's guest vocalist on legendary Barnes & Barnes hits, as well as collaborating a lot with Weird Al. We're very excited to welcome Sulu to the podcast. Welcome, Sulu.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. And I really look forward to this. And I'll look forward to meeting you guys in person, too. I just saw you at the Star, and I didn't get to talk to you, but this is very exciting.
Yeah, we're so thrilled to have you with us, and we can't wait to hear about your illustrious history with Weird Al and Dr. Demento and Demented music in general. So you were just telling us off the air where the name Sulu came from, and I know you had a Star Trek related hit. I always thought you got the name from Star Trek. Can you tell us where you got that name?
Well, I was at UCLA, and I was actually in a sorority, not a stuck-up one, a really fun one, because there was not enough space in the dorms the first quarter, so I joined one. There were too many Sues, so they said, you're going to be Sue Lou, because you're Sue Lubin. That was my maiden name. I didn't like it at all, but they said, no, you're going to be Sue Lou. And all right, I went with it. And then course, Dr. Demento adopted that name because he didn't want to use real names. I could start out by saying in middle school, I wrote really funny, crazy poetry, and I kept winning poetry contests. I would tie with the serious poetry contest writers, and I'd have really weird poetry about a rat jamming the elevator, getting his tail caught, and I would keep winning poetry contests that were funny. And then I was at UCLA, and I used to do talent shows on the 6th floor for the guys' floor. It was called the Beavers Cleavers floor. And they needed funny songs, so a few people did songs, but, they were like folk songs, and I would do these funny, raunchy songs. And a friend on the floor said, there's a show called Dr. Demento, and he accepts unsolicited tapes. You'd be perfect for that show. So I started listening to the songs, Bounce Your Boobies, Monkey Bite, Benny Bell, It's a Gas, and then some unsolicited ones. I said, I could do that. So I sent him the tape, about 5 songs, and he lost it. It fell out of his coat pocket. I sent him Lobster Woman, I'm a Jap, which he felt was really good, about a Jewish American princess, but he felt maybe it would be racist for considering there was World War II and people would interpret it in a very bad way. So he says, I love it, but I can't play it. Then there was I Love Your Toes, and there was Barnyard Sex. And he plays Lobster Woman about a lobster who was upset that she wasn't kosher. Well, anyway, I forgot, a couple songs got on. I got very excited. And then there was I Love Your Toes. And that did pretty well. And it was very exciting. But when I got on the show live, he eventually asked me to be a sidekick after I got a lot of fan letters from these teeny boppers, lots and lots of letters. Some he sent to me, and some were kept by his manager, Larry Gordon and John Rothschild and Laughing Linda. And I got called into Crosswords of the World in Hollywood, and they said, we're getting all sorts of good mail about you, and you're very popular. And I said, oh, I don't think that could be possible. But, at that time, they had Junk Food Junkie, and I'm trying to think who else was popular. They had an improv group called Bedlam AC, and, they asked me to do a local concert at UCLA, actually 2, and I got a standing ovation. And then he found my I Love Your Toes songs later, and he said, you know what, I'd like to have you on the show as a sidekick, but he always asks the other people if it's okay, because, we don't want to be competitive, and I'm not a competitive person at all. I get along with anyone, except if they, put me down and say terrible things. Right, so I started answering phones with Bedlam AC, and he says, we need a name for you. And what's your name? Sulu. And he goes, well, that's not going to work. You have to be something. I said, Sulu. He goes, that's cute. So what if they get confused? So he says, no one will look you up. No one will know because that's your name.
Right.
And we don't want people to find you. Well, of course, there was a little kid who was 12 named Dan Pasternak, who happened to look me up in Westwood because he knew I was in the dorms. He called up the landline and he said, hi, I'm Dan Pasternak. By the way, he played Dan's song, and it got on the top 10 through petitions. And he said, I love you. I really want to marry you. And I said, look, you're 11 years old. You're really, really nice. Please don't ever call this number again. Call the 323-522-KMET, or it was 213. And I said, I don't want to be mean, because Dr. Demento said never be mean to the callers, no matter how, strange they are or annoying. Even Musical Mike and Whimsical Will and all those people were kind to all the callers, even if some were annoying. So I said, don't ever do that. So he would keep showing up at concerts. I'm sure you've seen pictures of him, but now he's a well-known producer and he's our friend. Anyway, they look you up. There's a way in the white pages to find your name, and so that didn't work. But anyway, so
But the name stuck,
So-
it sounds like.
yeah, so you get all sorts of callers. We were tabulating the top 10, and Bedlam AC, was on for a while in a Radio Free Mime, and he needed more phone answers because then Jungle Judy and Captain Chaos, who are a couple, before me, they had broken up and gotten into some fights. So he needed more people to answer the phones. So at that time, Weird Al, or Al Yankovic, a very sweet college boy, was writing songs, but they were original songs like Mr. Frump and the Iron Lung, School Cafeteria, Nobody Here but Us Frogs. And he was submitting original songs. And he wasn't answering phones then, but I believe he came in a couple times, and he was just the sweetest, nicest kid or college student I ever met. He was bright. He was never swearing, that.
Right.
Never put down. But these were original songs that he was turning in. And so I was on doing, answering phones with the Bedlam AC, and then pretty soon they kind of left the show, and in comes Musical Mike, who was amazing at jazz, and he had a segment called Jazz Corner, and then they brought in Whimsical Will, who does amazing montages, student of Dawes Butler, and he's been, done the part of Christopher Robin. The guy's so talented, and he continues to do the Demented News. So they brought him in, and then they brought Barnes and Barnes, and they were kind of afraid to ask me to do High School Gym because they thought maybe I wouldn't do it, because maybe they thought, oh, you're too big you won't do it. Of course I would. I did it in one take. And then meanwhile, I Love Your Toes was doing really well on the top 10, and there was one called Dream Dirty Dreams and No No, and then in comes Damascus, who's a very talented songwriter, but more on the raunchy side. So he did an answer to No No called Yes Yes, and we did live concerts at Huntington Park and Pomona Fair, and we had wonderful turnouts. And Al starts turning in more songs, and meanwhile, I don't know, with I Love Your Toes, I was very lucky because I entered a song contest in 1976, and Peter Yarrow was the host of Peter, Paul, and Mary, and it got into the finals. First, it was rejected, and someone threw it back into the pile because they thought it was weird. But then it got into the finals, and then Peter Yarrow heard it and thought it was so funny. And then there wasn't that many funny songs then, but I was the only funny song. And he coached me through the rehearsals. And
Al did?
Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary. This is after I Love Your Toes was doing really well. And then I entered it in more song contests. It kept winning song contests. And when you're a member of a performing rights organization, you get paid royalties. So I started getting royalties. And then I went on the Gong Show. After 4 auditions, I got on. And that paid really well. I mean, because it's all over the U.S., and then there were reruns. So I was very grateful to Dr. Demento for that. I never expected that because my career was going to be teaching, and I told his management, no, I'm going to be a teacher, but I'll do this on the side. So alternate Sunday nights, we answered phones and created mayhem and sometimes made up songs and things like that.
Yeah.
And then in comes Al Yankovic. And, I've heard his podcasts with Lori and Carrie. Carrie came in because she had some type of, her dad had a song with Bing Crosby and Al Jolson, and she became a phone answerer, and she was delightful. I love her. She's still my friend, Lori McMillan. And I had no idea that her and Al were dating because, how do I say this? I was going out with couple people in the dorm. And then it didn't really work out. So then I eventually met my husband in grad school. But Al, as Al started developing popularity, I think he started going out with people on the show. And I didn't really know what was going on, aside from what was in the phone room and what I knew. But and it was great, but hearing about the dates and everything, that was pretty cute. But anyway, they're all good friends now.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be going out with people on the show because I was worried if it turned sour, what would happen. And of course, Damascus wanted to take it to the next level, but I said, nah. I said, no, we're just friends, that's it. So we were all friends in the phone room, answering phones, and Al came in and sometimes would sit in the corner with his little checkered pants and checkered shoes and glasses with the curly hair. And let's see. Then I know he auditioned for the Gong Show too, but with originals. So he didn't get on, which is very crazy, but that was just with originals. And then in 1979, he does My Bologna, and it takes off, and it's fantastic. And Capitol Records gives him a contract, and he's totally excited. Then in 1980 I think is when he started coming in to help answer phones with us. So it was super, super fun. And there would be like 5 of us or 6 crammed into one room answering calls, one landline, 6 blinking. And sometimes we would just be laughing and giggling, and we didn't take all the calls, we were giggling. And then Dr. D would come in and he would go, "Are you answering the phones? I need the top 10. What are you doing?" And we'd go, "Oh no, we are. We're just like," there was a lapse. We didn't tell the truth sometimes. and he's all, I need you to answer phones. I see them blinking and whatever. And so we'd be giggling. We were told not to eat in the phone room. And so we had to eat outside. And sometimes I brought brownies and Al would sneeze in them. And he would everywhere. It was crazy. And it was just so much fun. And, there wasn't enough chairs for everyone, but we just squished into there and tabulated the top 10. There was a guy who called named Josh from the morgue. He worked in the morgue, and he would say, "Hey, I want to request, it's a guest." And we knew by his voice, and we actually loved talking to him. And there were some that didn't know the title of the song and couldn't figure it out. So if we couldn't, we'd ask Dr. Demento, "What do you think this is?" And Musical Mike usually always knew the answer.
Yeah.
And Al was just wonderful. And let's see. So there was 1979. He did My Bologna, and it was taking off. And all of a sudden, I don't know. He was doing some more songs, and then Bermuda Schwartz wasn't a regular then. He had been a guest on the show, I think, one time before, and happened to come up in the elevator one day, and he brought his case, a case, and Al said, "Hey, I have this song called Another One Rides the Bus. I want to do a live version of it." And it was Mike, me, Tom and Jerry, I think Bill Burke, Al, and Bermuda, and he didn't really know Al. So we're in the hall, and I think we did this brief run-through, and Damascus, too, because he has to be one up. Damascus had to get in. If you watch Real People, you'll see Damascus trying to always go close to the camera and get the, zoom-in shots. Yeah. So he would do like the, and I did, Musical Mike had these fart noises that he was able to do on the bass level, and he showed me how to do it on the tenor level. So I did tenor farts on Another One Rides the Bus. So da 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 da. Da 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 da. And here is Sulu Dubow. She gets a BA in education on the way to a master's degree, and I was getting my master's. By the way, I have just a little ways to go for a PhD, but
Oh, excellent.
when you look me up in Wiki, it's really interesting. It'll say, Sue Dubow does all this crazy music with Weird Al and Dr. Demento, and then it said known for musical tenor farts. I mean, really, that's my claim to fame. Wow. No, but it has other things because I've done a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so nobody expected how successful that was going to be. I don't even think Al did, because even with My Bologna being so fantastic, he never would have expected that, because I think he wanted to be an architect at one time, then wasn't really sure, then worked in the mailroom at Westwood One. And during that time also in the 1980s, I had some weekends free, but I was always studying because I was doing grad work and getting my credential. So Beefalo Bill, who also did wonderful photography, would take us to different places like Westwood, and we'd play songs. And I think at that time, Al had his comedy records in the comedy section of Tower, and I had done an ethnic music project for my bachelor's degree, and it was in the ethnic section, the Jewish section, and there was a few comedy songs on it. So I was trying to put my record into the section where Weird Al was. The manager was like, yours is more ethnic, but yeah, it has a couple funny songs. So they stuck a few in the comedy section, because whenever people would want to buy my stuff, they're like, where is it? But
right.
My senior project had to be ethnic. So if I could hold the Jerusalem, it won awards, and it has a few funny songs on it. Anyway, so I don't think at that time Al was making a lot of money. He was getting money from the Westwood One mailroom, and we wanted to make some money. So we went on the street corners at Westwood Boulevard, and I played Hail to the Jewish Mother, and I got $3. And then he played some of his songs, and he got like $1. And we were there for an hour. There's a picture I could send you. Everybody, I'm in flip-flops and black pants, and he's laying on the ground in front of Tower with fast food. I think it's hamburgers and soda, before he was a vegan or a vegetarian.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he's laying there, and it's like he's tired already. I think we ended up making, I made $10, maybe he made $9, or that was great for us. Anyway, we performed on street corners. And then he had this apartment. I think it was on Gramercy Place in Hollywood at that time. And I'm not sure how neat he was. I remember it being like a 1-bedroom, and we were there, and I believe we performed, let's see. Oh, there was a song called Got a Boogie, and I say, get that boogie out of my face, because he wasn't even remembering. I messaged him a few weeks ago, and I said, do you remember where you did this? He says, no, actually, it might have been my apartment. So on Placebo Records, I'm on that one too, doing background vocals, and I don't know, it was improv. It was crazy. And
That's awesome.
Then Bill and Demento and him, they, did all those records or record jackets and sold a certain number, and they did very well. And then after that, of course, Scotty Brothers picked him up, and things took off from that point. There was a show called The Fun Zone with Howie Mandel, and it was filmed at NBC Channel 4, and it was supposed to be actually take over Saturday Night Live. I think Brendan Tartikoff was in the audience, and it didn't make it that way, but it was still fantastic. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the story. I mean, he took off, and from working in the mailroom to touring all around and just being so famous. And it's just amazing how it all started. If Dr. Demento had not given him a chance or me a chance, nothing, it wouldn't have happened, because I can tell you this right now, I might have just been teaching, but after the show, I got, I started entering contests. I did work for KBC Talk Radio. I sang at the Star for Ken and Bob. I got offered a verbal contract for them for a number of years. I did corporate songs for all events. I had my own songwriting business. I wrote jingles for United Way, for restaurants, KBC, did live performances, and I just developed a lot of self-confidence, because I didn't have that in junior high or high school too much. There were some bullies, and they used to like tease me, and I didn't know how to fight back or get, do comebacks at that time. Now I can do it. I think, he's just been so amazing in terms of things that have happened to me beyond teaching, and as well as meeting the most amazing people that I've ever met. You could talk about the Fumps, Ian, Tom, Devo Spice, Steve Goody, who's just parodies Al's song and is amazing. Chris Mazzoletta, Luke Ski. I wouldn't have met them. There was a 50th anniversary that I went as a sidekick, and it just made me want to keep writing, because there's a time that I stopped to get married and have my kids, and during that time I got pretty involved with the kids and their activities and teaching, which took a lot of my time. So I wish I had been able to go to more Weird Al concerts. I went to the one in 2022, the Vanity Tour. It was fantastic. And a lot of my friends who are on the show know the words to Albuquerque, but I don't know them by heart. I feel bad. I feel really bad that I didn't memorize it. My friend Steve wrote a parody called My Pal Murray about a lawnmower. It's hysterical. Chuck, Angel Gonzalez, who's fantastic, did the artwork for Steve Goody's parody. It's hysterical. It's called Al, I'm a Dork. It's about a kid that hides herself in the shed and listens to Weird Al songs. She tabulated 253 Al songs and did amazing artwork. And Steve is dressed up like Al, doing all sorts of crazy things. And he has a show that he does where he interacts with Al and Daniel Radcliffe all around the country. It's fantastic. But Angel, she has the most amazing drawings of him. They're lifelike. And then I met, of course, Jeff Nacera, who does the promo for Al and started, a long time ago. And he's doing the show Gals. And I'm so excited about that. And I just met so many wonderful people, because of the show and because of Al, and continue to do so. This would not have happened without Dr. Demento helping comedy artists to launch their careers. Even the phone answerers who may not write, they are so grateful to have been part of the show. And we're still a very close-knit family. It's like a demented family, and we get together quite often, and we, go to Downey and Lakewood, and we eat Greek food, and we have pizza, and we love it. And it's changed my life for the better. My husband doesn't, he's not into comedy. No, he is into comedy, but he's in healthcare, so he lets me do my thing. So, because he tried recording some of my early stuff and it didn't work. We were going to kill each other. So I have a studio that I work with. And my kids, this is like so funny. My daughter, when they found out I worked with Al, they bought a lot of the cassettes and the VHSs. And I told them they had to clean their room like years ago, and they're 33 and 35. And I just found, and we said, you know what? I think you better like turn in the cassettes to Goodwill, because now they're making CDs. So just turn them in and get rid of them. And just now, I'm in my daughter's room and I find Running with Scissors, my daughter's name Lisa, Weird Al Yankovic. I don't think I'm going to give it away. And so at the time that I was on the show, I think they told people that, oh, your mom used to sing with Al and Dr. Demento. And they thought, you know, that's cute. But then as they got older, and I picked them up from carpool, middle school or high school, they would come running. They would go, oh, Miss Dubow, you were on Dr. Demento and you were with Weird Al. And my kids would get in the car. They go, drive. Don't talk to them. Because they're like embarrassed. Like, Mom, it's so embarrassing that you were singing, you know, on another one rides a bus that got a boogie and all those songs. And then, of course, we did one called Robert Hilburn. That was Damascus.
Yes.
Yeah, about the critic of the LA Times. And he lived in Fairfax area. And he said, you know what? I'm going to have a hit. And I'm going to even be more famous than Al. So would you be interested in doing backup? And I said, sure. And so he told Al, and Al said, sure. This is maybe before the 90s. And so we went to his house, recorded on the reel-to-reel. And I was like the Graham Nash with the high voice, Robert Hilburn. And he would go, do it again. I don't like that. I want more echo. And then Al would be the David Crosby, Robert, and da-da-da-da, 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 like an antenna, whatever. And then he says, I know that Robert Hilburn's going to just write a great review about me. And Al's on it, but I'm the one that's going to be like famous. But turned out that Robert Hilburn, he liked it, but, you know, he didn't write a big review. So Damascus was a little bit upset, but that was so fun because Al sang on Damascus's songs and some things that I wrote in the phone room, and it was so fun.
Well, thank you for sharing all that, Sulu. I do want to ask you one question before we move on to some of these songs that you and Al did together in the studio. You mentioned that you and Al went busking. Was that the only time you guys did that, or was that a regular occurrence?
I think it was just a few times. It was whenever Beefalo Bill would have time on the weekend, because I was mostly studying. So it wasn't too often. It was once in a while on Saturdays or Sundays that we would do it.
Gotcha. Do you remember what songs Al performed?
I think it was another one, Rides the Bus, and My Bologna. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
I love it. You guys should have brought in a lot more than $9 or $10 for performing those great hits out on the street for free for people. But yeah.
But, you know, that I was going to say, then it was like a lot of old people were coming down the street, so they didn't really know him.
Fair.
It was funny, yeah.
And would you back him up on the songs, and would he back you up on the songs, or was it more taking turns?
I would clap on the songs, but and on my songs, he didn't back me up. He was just laying there. I held to the Jewish Mother, and I'm trying to think what else I did. I Love Your Toes, a few other ones there. They didn't really have backup. The stuff he did in the studio that I would write little spontaneous songs. Barnes and Barnes and him would sing on them. And then it would be written on napkins. That's what it was.
Do you remember what some of those songs were that you wrote on the fly like that?
They were more tributes to Dr. Demento, certain anniversaries or birthdays or events. And then I would scribble them on napkins and then somehow insert the word fish heads in it. And Al would sing on it. Da, 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 da. And then I found out later that Artie Barnes would save all my lyrics, things that Al would sing on, and Barnes and Barnes, Damascus, and he would sell them on eBay. And,
Oh, wow.
and for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I didn't know this. So every time I would write spontaneous songs, I probably was one of the few that did, and Al would sing on them. They would appear, and there's a guy, my friend named Michael Lestick. He would be one of the people buying them. and then also I'd write them on tabulation sheets on KMET. And then afterwards, after we had tabulation sheets, we would throw them away. Or some were saved, but we'd toss them. And he would take everything from the trash, including anything I wrote, lyrics that were for Al and Barnes and Barnes, and he would keep them. And I didn't have any idea of this till years later. He's not alive now to defend himself, but
Right.
it's so cute. It is. And then there was, this is funny, when he was doing, before he did Like a Surgeon, then we started realizing the importance of parodies. And I said, I have to do a parody of, Weird Al song. So first I did one called Another One Bears Her Bust. And we were looking it up, and someone, Jeff Morris, the archivist, he found it. It's terrible.
Oh, great.
And it's about a woman who's a 48D. And it wasn't produced very well, but it's called Another One Bears Her Bust, another one sags, another one drags, another one bears her bust. And Will did Another One Makes a Fuss. But to do a parody of a parody was really fun. And Dr. Demento played it, but it's great. I will send it to you. It's not produced well, but it was funny. So I did that, and then I said, I've got to do Physical before Al does it. So I did it. I think he was going to do it, but I did it first, and it was cute. It was parody on Olivia Newton-John's Physical. Uh-huh. And then, because Al was asking permission from the artist, I was nervous. So, Dr. D said, maybe nothing will happen. And I said, I don't know if it ever gets sold. So I called the songwriters, either Terry Shattuck and Steve Kipner, and I told him I had done this Physical song. And he goes, oh, well, that's my song. And I said, don't worry, you're going to be paid the full amount. And I won't be paid anything. So he was happy.
Oh.
And he says, because that's my song, and I said, yeah, don't worry. And it never got sold, but I often did that with artists that I parodied, and I didn't do very many, but I just thought it was funny. And then after Physical, Al said, he was gonna do Physical, but I did it, and then he did Like a Surgeon, and that was fantastic.
Do you have any idea what his idea for Physical was?
No, I don't know. I know he said that he was gonna do it, but I already did it, so I beat him to it. And it was a female version of, I've got to get a physical, so it was a more sexy version. I'm sure it would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
But I was proud of it. And then my son Jeff, who really always loved Weird Al, is now a DJ on a show called Brooke and Jeffrey in Seattle, and it's syndicated, and he does parodies every Friday, and people call him Little Weird Al. It's amazing. He sings like Al, or a lot like Steve Goody too, but they call him that, and we don't even have the same DNA. I mean, we're friends, but so it's pretty cute. But Lori was telling me on Real People, that I was manning the house while Al was out with Dr. Demento doing some errands. So I was showing Sarah Purcell around his house in Sherman Oaks. She was like amazed. And then we went to the studio and we recorded, and I guess there was no makeup artist. So I was doing makeup for some of the people, for the couple girls, and Lori is adorable, but she says, Sulu, I need makeup. So I had makeup, and I put eyeshadow and mascara and lipstick on her. And then when Al got there, he was featured too on the segment prominently, and he said, what the heck did she do to you? And she said, well, I needed makeup. There's no artist. He said, what is wrong with your face? I didn't like you with all this makeup. So I guess she took some of it off, but it looked good, I thought. She always tells that story. And yeah, there was also Jovial Joan, and she worked at Capitol Records. I think as an intern, Damascus brought her in, and then she was just fabulous. And Weird Al, I ended up dating her as well. They're all good friends. Everybody's like buddies, and it's just wonderful how our friendships continue. And we're so grateful to Dr. Demento. And I just saw Al, how long ago was it? A few months ago, I guess. But we always see each other at reunions, and it's such a pleasure. And it's been like 4.5 decades. It's just hard to believe that here was this innocent,
Oh, yeah.
sweet, bright, young college guy who never took drugs, never swore, never put down people, including, any presidential candidates.
Right.
He is smart, and I remember his mom, he said something like, "Oh, my mom says, be careful of Hollywood, stay away because it's evil." And my mom was protective too. There was my mom, Musical Mike's mom, Will's mom, and they're all protective. And sometimes I think the two of them hung out at live concerts. And one time I was at Tower Records talking to Musical Mike and somebody else, and there weren't cell phones. And I guess we talked till, I don't know, past midnight. It might have been a weeknight. And Mike's mom called and my mom and said, "Where's my son?" And I finally got home, and, he'll kill me for, it's fine. And she said, "Sue," she goes, "where have you been?" And it happened to be a week I was off from school. I said, "Well, we're at Tower Records just, talking." She says, "He's 16 years old and he just got his driver's license and she's worried sick about him. You cannot be talking that long at Tower Records. And because there's no way to get a hold of him." She goes, "You cannot do that. You're older than the rest of the people on the show and you should have more responsibility." So there weren't cell phones then. So, and I think Weird Al at that time was still at college, and then he was driving his Belvedere.
Yeah.
So I don't think his mom worried about him that much, but I remember him saying they were very protective, and they, didn't want him doing things like drugs or, meeting sleazy people. And he's done fine.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, so it's been a wonderful adventure, and I still love all the people, all the demented people, and I keep meeting more, and I love helping them. I had one guy, John Christensen. There was a novelty contest, and I've been a judge a few times in Hollywood, and I've convinced the judges that partner with me that don't know as much that the songs that I think are great, and I ended up putting his song, "I Get Weird," into the finals pile, although that guy said, "I don't like it and it doesn't deserve it." And I said, "I know a lot more about comedy," and it ended up getting on Dr. Demento's Mementos, and he's very grateful. So I try to help a lot of artists who are, trying to get their music heard. If it's good, I'll push it, I'll promote it. And, there was one, Zeb and Kenny, Kenneth.
Kenneth Gwinnett,
did, we built this city on Hershey bars. It was just on the YouTube, and I said, we were like messaging each other. I said, "Have you ever given it to Demento?" No. I said, "Why not? It's fantastic. It's adorable." And so I posted it, and then now it's played, and then it was on the top 10. They're so happy. I try to help all these upcoming, artists who have a lot of talent. And I just love doing that, helping people and promoting comedy and talking about Al, and it's wonderful. So, and I saw pictures of the star and all those people there, and it was like a beautiful day, and all the cast was there, and I met his family, and it's awesome. And I hope Dr. Demento gets a star, because honestly, he's helped so many people to launch their careers. He is an icon, and that will be my goal. We're working on it, and we love him so much. And yeah, absolutely. So
he absolutely deserves a star. And I'm as surprised as I was when I found out that Weird Al did not have a star, that Dr. Demento also did not have a star, and currently does not have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's an oversight that they need to correct as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I heard that it took 14 attempts to have the star, because the KBC people that I work the morning show, they were complaining. So they did a Starfish Walk of Fame in Redondo Beach because they were angry. And that at that point, Ken and Bob, they complained and then eventually got their star. It was about $3,000. But now, of course, the price has gone up and you have to go through a nominating committee. And I want him to get a star. Everybody does. So, we're just grateful Al got his, and I don't know how you guys managed to do it. You guys were awesome. 14 tries, I heard, and that's
it took longer than we were expecting, but in the end we got the result we wanted, and all of Weird Al's fans were great, supporting us along the way, and even like you said, the price went up a couple of times, and nobody flinched at that, and they said, "Okay, we'll just raise some more money. It's not a big deal." So everyone loves Weird Al, and we're so happy that he does have that star. And you were there that day. Can you tell us a little about your day and how that went, being at the star ceremony?
Oh, it was awesome. We were there, and it was Jungle Judy, it was Jovial Joan, it was Musical Mike. Some of the other people, I think Art Barnes was there later, Dr. Demento's manager, John Capiero. Dr. Demento, of course, did a wonderful speech about knowing him before he was weird. And it was just so touching. Then there was the mayor and another councilman and a lot of the band. Bermuda Schmortz was there. He was totally touched. Jay Levy, all the members of the band, Stephen J.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't met every member of the band, but I am going to. And it was just so wonderful to see it. And, I went there about a week before the star was prepared totally. And there's a picture of me standing there when they dug the star up. And I wanted to see it. And it was fantastic. And then I met his family and Nina. I said, "Hey, do you want to be like your dad?" She said, "No, I like math and science." I like math. And now she's into environmental science, but I started asking her a lot of questions. And then seeing all the fans, I saw Dave. I don't know if I saw Ethan. I saw Vicky. And I hadn't met them in person, but there was thousands, I think, of people. Yeah. Polly, this girl, had this poster, and she had flown from Canada and raised the money to go. And it was thousands and thousands of people. And my mind went back to 1977, remembering when he was in the studio, just starting out with the originals, school cafeteria and his accordion, just playing the accordion, and never knowing that all of this would ever happen and be as big as it was. And it's just heartwarming, and then seeing all the people that love him and love Dr. Demento, that was just wonderful. I can't even put it into words. So, I look back at the pictures, and there's so many other people that were there too, that were at the star, that I have to look back.
Yeah.
Radioactive Chicken Heads and Tony Gold. No, it was Tony Goldmark, and I thought it was Luke. But all the fans, they were just chanting. They love him so much, and he's so grateful to everyone. He's a grateful person. I had a friend that was who was very sick. He immediately sent them a card. Then it got lost, and I said it was lost, and you sent another one. He responds right away. He doesn't wait. Al is never too busy for people. He gets on things right away and responds and really cares about his fans, and he's just a very gracious person, and I think his parents raised him very well. And of course, I loved the biopic too. It wasn't, some of it, knowing him, that Madonna, that wasn't true, because I knew, like, when he met Madonna, she wasn't that nice. So seeing her making out with him was a little bit hard for me to take, because I knew he was like, oh, she wasn't that nice. And the thing about the drug thing,
Right.
Well, he's not into that, but it's all in fun. It's a parody.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And then Dr. Demento around the pool and all those characters. It was really well done. I cracked up. It was wonderful. I'm so happy he got the Grammys, and it's just fantastic. So I'm happy that I was a part of it. I'm happy to still be a part of the show. I took off for a while when I raised the kids, and then everybody who does comedy totally inspires me to do it and to do it better. And I've developed like a lot of close friends. My friend Chris Bay too is wonderful. He worked with the TV Academy, and he's fantastic. Has a great knowledge of records. And again, I said Michael Lesticat, who buys a lot of the things that are sold on eBay and has such a vast record collection. Kendra Shepard, who's with Needle Juice. She was like my adopted daughter. And Jace McLean with Needle Juice. Yeah. Fantastic people, and they keep everything going. And then John Cafiero's his manager. He's done that Demented Punk, and those are great albums. And I just hope it keeps going and going and going and going, and the legacy lives on and on and on. And I hope again he gets his star that he deserves, and that Al keeps doing parodies and funny shows, and the band stays together, and it's just fabulous. And I hope I get to see you guys in person, because I haven't, but I saw you at the Star, but I do hope to see you in person and create mayhem.
I'm sure we will find an excuse sometime soon to see each other. This has been such a great time, Sulu, hearing about the early days and Dr. Demento. And I think, what you said, the legacy is really so strong. I can't imagine that, those days in the phone room while you guys are goofing around and sneezing and brownies and stuff, you would have ever imagined that it would have led to all these great friendships and what has happened in the years since. So I love hearing all those stories, and we love having you here to talk to us all about it. And thank you just so much for joining us on the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm sure that I hope I didn't leave anybody out, because everybody, Carrie also is another one that was fantastic. Crazy Carrie. And I'm just trying, I hope I didn't leave anyone out. Bill Mooney was Barnes and Barnes, and they're all fantastic. So I hope I continue to be a part of this Demented family, and the legacy lives on, and Al's lives on, and he will in the hearts of so many. And I'm going to hold on to this cassette of Running with Scissors. I'm not going to be putting it into the Goodwill pile.
Good.
There's more Amish Paradise too. My son was calling me, goes, oh, Mom, you got to go find Amish Paradise and some of the others. Poodle Hat, because I listened to it, but I was embarrassed because when people knew that you're with Al in the show, it's sort of embarrassing for me to have a crazy mom. But so anyway, it's been really fabulous with you guys, and I enjoy hearing the podcast as well that you do. And and hopefully you'll get to talk to some of the other Demented crew as well, and other people and keep it going.
A huge thank you to Sulu for the incredible stories and memories from the early days with Weird Al and Dr. Demento.
And you may think that that's it. I mean, we certainly did, but a day after we recorded with Sulu, she emailed us some additional audio of things that she meant to include in the recording.
Well, let's hear it. Without further ado, some more with Sulu.
There's a few things I forgot to tell you. In the early 80s, Weird Al and I performed at Wolf and Russ Miller's Country Club. There was quite a lineup. There was Weird Al and there was Barnes and Barnes. I performed a few songs. There was one called Tight Jeans and Locked in the Closet. And Damascus performed. I think it was Making Love in a Subaru. And I think there was Tiny Tim. And also there was Bobby Boris Pickett, but he didn't bring his backup singer, so he asked if anyone could do backup on Monster Mash. So Jovial Joan knew the backup vocal. She was also a pretty good singer. And so she taught it to me really quickly, and we did the Monster Mash with Bobby Boris Pickett. So that was very exciting. And back in the green room, people came to visit us. I met Tiny Tim. And then there was a guy in a weird checkered suit. And he was saying to me, I really liked your funny songs. You want to go for coffee? And he made me very uncomfortable. So I said, oh, that's really nice, but I'm also a graduate student at UCLA and I have to study a lot. So that's really nice, but I'm not really sure. He goes, well, take my number. And then he, walked out, and then I threw it in the trash. And Ludacris Lori, I believe it was her, who said, don't you know that was Andy Kaufman from Taxi? I said, no, he was kind of strange looking and I felt very uncomfortable. But at that time, I didn't know. So I never got the number out of the trash. But that was pretty fun. And of course, Weird Al killed it on stage. He was awesome. There's also another time that I'm going to tell you about. In the late 70s, his management said, I think it would be good if you and Dr. Demento took improvisation because you would be able to be different characters and it would be awesome for you to do that. So eventually I joined his improv class after I started with a college class. And I remember there was one time where the teacher said, I'm going to give you a serious scene and you're going to have to do it together. And the scene was, I was a geisha girl and my boyfriend was very abusive and mistreated me and threw me in the street. And Dr. Demento was a regular man who happened to be passing by and he was very caring and consoling, and he finds me in the street crying. And he had to console me and tell me I was special and I was valued. And then I stopped crying. And we were very serious in the scene, and it was amazing because I wasn't doing a scene with Dr. Demento. I was doing it with a caring, consoling man, and we had to be quite serious, and that's very hard for me. And I don't know if it was that easy for him, but at the end of the scene, he takes me in and takes me to his house, and I guess we have lunch and everything's great. And the whole class in the improvisation class started clapping. They said it was real, it was wonderful, and it was amazing because we both were serious people and we weren't being demented. Anyway, Al didn't have to take improv. He was just a natural. He was so quick and witty. But anyway, I think that class really helped both of us. And it was a lot of fun, but it was a pretty funny scene that we did.
Once again, thank you to the great Sulu for joining us on this episode. This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also fast.
Every year on the second Saturday in August, the entire town of Darwin, Minnesota comes together to celebrate Twine Ball Day.
And as it happens to be, this past Saturday, August 10th, was the second Saturday in August.
One of the highlights of any Twine Ball Day is the annual Darwin Twine K race.
The annual Darwin Twine K race is a 17,400-foot run to celebrate the 17,400-pound ball of twine.
That's 3.3 miles for people who like to think of distance in miles instead of feet.
And that's 5.30352 kilometers for people who like to think of distance in kilometers instead of feet.
And that's approximately 29,795.056 bananas for people who like to think of distance in bananas instead of feet.
Overall, 98 racers took part in the event, with the overall winner being 16-year-old Charlie Bortnam with a time of 18 minutes, 28.2 seconds.
27-year-old Allie McGraw topped the female competitors with a time of 22 minutes, 42.9 seconds.
Past guest of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, the Honorable Mayor Josh Johnson finished 8th place overall with a time of 21 minutes, 30.5 seconds.
Curiously, of the 98 racers, a staggering 13 of them had the last name of Johnson.
Fascinating!
Well, from all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, congratulations to all 98 racers, whether they have the last name of Johnson or not, on finishing the 12th annual Darwin Twine K race.
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next Johnson Family Reunion exhibition. Discover Darwin, more than just the twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit www.discoverdarwin.biz.
Oh, wow! That sound means we have a call on the 347 Spatula Hotline, the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
I wonder if this is one of the ones we skipped back on episode 238-inch. All right, intern Frank, let's find out.
Hey, Dave, happy birthday. I hope you eat a lot of broccoli and drink a lot of beer, and I hope intern Frank has to work. Thank you.
Aw, thank you very much for the birthday wishes, and you can absolutely guarantee that intern Frank had to work overtime on my birthday.
Oh, I guess we've got another voicemail on the Spatula Hotline. I wonder if this one has anything to do with your birthday as well.
Hey there, Dave and Ethan. It's your old pal Chris, the cartoon-loving geek from Canada. Well, I can tell by the old Yoda-themed clock on the wall that once again it's time to celebrate Dave's birthday. Yeah, happy birthday, Dave, old buddy. And to help celebrate the occasion, I've got something special to share with you. You remember a while back when you told me how you tried to sell that idea of yours to make a deluxe-sized action figure based on the monsters from that old B-rated sci-fi feature, The Slime Creatures from Outer Space? Well, I actually took your idea, and I pitched it to Spatula City Toys Incorporated. And guess what? They loved it! Haha, yes! The doll is going into production now. It's going to be fully posable, come with a can of slime, and say 27 different things when you press the spike on its back. Isn't that great? Yeah. It's just too bad that you're going to have to wait a while for it, though. Yeah, just like Ethan's toy, looks like the company told me that they have to put your toy through the appropriate channels as well. And they figure you and every other kid out there won't get to play with it until National Amoeba Appreciation Day of 2025. But, just like Ethan's toy, the good news is that they have agreed to let you see a full-colored illustration of what the toy will look like when it's finished. I helped them with that part, of course. And you gotta admit, that was a nice gesture on their part. Am I right? Oh, and as an extra added bonus, when the toys are ready to sell, the company wants you both, you and Ethan, to be in a series of commercials to help promote them. Now that's pretty stinking majestic. So until next time, you have yourself a happy birthday, Dave. And my mom hopes you like that beer and broccoli flavored ice cream she sent you in that portable freezer. Later, guys. Oh, wait. One more thing. Sorry. Frank, will you please tell your sister Francesca to stop calling me for the last time? No, I do not want to go on a date with her. She is by far the most annoying woman I have ever met. Frankly, I'd rather clean all the bathrooms at Rogers Stadium with my tongue than spend any minute with her. Seriously, why is that so hard for her to comprehend? Okay, well, that's it from me. Ciao, guys.
Wow, thank you for the birthday wishes, Chris, and thank you for the amazing gift. I cannot wait until National Amoeba Appreciation Day in 2025 to finally get to play with this thing.
And the drawing you sent, Chris, that is really pretty stinking majestic.
Yes, slime creatures from outer space, 15 inches fully posable with a can of slime included. I'm very excited about that can of slime. This picture is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much again, Chris.
And wait, Chris, are you telling me that Francesca is intern Frank's sister? I always assumed she was his girlfriend.
And I always assumed Francesca was his pet hamster.
Well, I guess that would explain all the fur.
All right, well, I think a DNA test is in intern Frank's future. Thanks again for the call, Chris.
Whoa! Another spatula call! Stop petting Francesca and let's hear that call.
Hey, this is Claire. I'm calling in to say, wow, what a week it's been. Oh my goodness, Pokemania, I'm obsessed. It hit 2 million views last night. I was watching the YouTube counter. Probably about half of those are mine, so you're welcome, Al, for the contribution towards hopefully Billboard Top 40. Who knows? I also want to say Saturday I went out to see UHF at the Nighthawk Prospect Park Theater with my husband Francesco and our good buddy Josh Pilch, who did the Hello animation with Ogden Blick Studios for the Pokemania video, and I did get him to update my sweatshirt with a ghost on it, the ghost from the animation, so I was quite happy about that. But anyway, sitting in that theater full of what looks like some people who maybe hadn't seen it before, some kids, it was sold out or nearly sold out. Everyone was dying laughing and it almost had me feeling sentimental, a little weepy. It was just so fun. I would say anyone who's listening, if you ever have a chance to go see UHF in a theater, run, don't walk. It was just lovely. Hope you're all having a nice day.
Claire, thank you so much for the call. And Dave, I think this was probably another one of those calls that we didn't get to last episode.
Yeah, I remember Claire telling us about the UHF screening that her and Josh and Francesco went to, and I'm so glad that they had an amazing time there. Thanks again for the call, Claire. And Claire, we absolutely agree. Everybody should see UHF in a theater whenever possible.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Wizard Burger, our very own Jackson Scoggins, and Discover Darwin. Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our very own close personal friend level Patreon supporters, Adriana Banana Yugovich, Scotto Brothers, Kenneth, Zeb, Casey Killingsworth, Allison, Ajax, Matt T, Dana B. and Beaker, Weird's Dream Date Nancy, UH Jeff, Gus and Alicia, Ron, Blair, Devlin, Javier, Kev Messick, Zach Casper, and also thanks to Tom Dog, Kat, Red State Update, Spunky Siren, Wendy, and everyone else in our Pretty Stinkin' Majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our Pretty Stinkin' Majestic Weird Al podcast, as heard in the Weird the Al Yankovic Story commentary track, please consider supporting us over at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your very own private RSS feed, which gives you early access to each and every single one of our bonus episodes, and the self-satisfaction of doing something important with your otherwise pitiful, meaningless existence. And don't forget to check out our official merchandise over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from purchases go directly towards supporting our fine podcast.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rum to Goody related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at 2000inch.com or WeirdAlPodcast.com. Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, X, Threads, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. Not only does subscribing help the podcast, it helps the algorithm to share our podcast to less intelligent Weird Al fans who don't know about us yet. Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline 347 Spatula, as seen in the Illustrated Al, the Songs of Weird Al Yankovic. That number is 347-772-8852. Give it a call or a text, and you might even hear your message in a future episode.
Thank you once again to Sulu for joining us this episode. We'd also like to thank Johnny O'Hearn, Mike Minnick, William King, our very own Jackson Scoggins, UH Jeff Nucera, Kenneth Gwinnett, Jeff McClelland, Ryan, aka Yelp to the Max, Ajax, our very own Claire Walsh, Chris the Weird Al admiring cartoon loving geek from Canada, Josh Pilch, David D. Grand, and the rest who called the 347 Spatula Hotline. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kibo West for our incredible podcast theme song. Thank you to John Bermuda Schwartz for being born. And thank you to Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And a big thank you to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember to gill and chill, keep listening to Weird Al, and stay cheesy.
Ethan, I was looking at the tour dates coming up for the Cybertronic Spree, that Transformers band.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see them perform live sometime.
Well, it doesn't look like they're coming anywhere near you or I, but they are playing in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
I love Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's the town in the heart of Amish paradise.
Can you just imagine an Amish person on Rumspringa accidentally stumbling into that concert?
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 239-inch.
We sell spatulas, and that's all.
Da 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 da.